We call these segments Capitol Spotlight. We take 5 minutes and talk to a member of the General Assembly about some of the legislation they've been working on and how it might impact you and me here in the state of Rhode Island. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to welcome a gentleman to Capitol Spotlight. I think we've had him on before, but it's certainly a pleasure to have him back with us, the Honorable State Representative Dan Gordon. Representative, good to see you.
Good to see you as well, Dave. Thank you very much.
You know, again, we like to take these opportunities and talk to people that serve in the Rhode Island House about some of the legislation they've been working on. You have something that deals with gold and silver coins that have been minted by the federal government that you want to see used or accepted here as currency in Rhode Island. This is the first I've heard of it. Bring us up to speed on this.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, it's in consideration that a number of my bills last year and this year as well that are reintroduced that would give relief to the least wealthy among us, namely the repeal of the 2% tax on medical imaging like MRIs and X-rays, tax breaks for military retiree pensions, and the creation of an enterprise zone in one of my towns in Portsmouth. They haven't been given much consideration. So I've looked to this piece of model legislation that was passed last year in Utah called a sound money bill. The Constitution authorizes the use of gold and silver coinage by the states that are minted by the U.S. government. The problem is that they can only be used in the denominations in which they're minted. However, for example, a $1 coin in gold, its metal content is worth approximately 40 some odd dollars. To make it simple, this would give the opportunity to individuals as well as other companies to use this mechanism to invest. Considering that the dollar, the value of the dollar has exponentially decreased over time, where gold has increased, there's a great opportunity there for people to use as a mechanism for their retirement. They could use gold-backed 401ks, IRAs, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, let me ask you this. What's stopping them from doing that right now? Why couldn't a person use the gold and silver coins if they wanted to invest? I know a lot of people are. The value, as you say, is pretty high right now. What stops them from doing it right now?
Well, that's the problem. And like I said, it can only be under law right now, traded in that denomination, the $1. So for example, someone to take that $1 coin and attempt to purchase a candy bar, they'd be losing approximately 40-something dollars. This would allow, and it wouldn't mandate, but it would allow businesses to accept that coinage at fair market value for what its actual metal content is worth.
I see what you're saying. So if a person were to convert that gold coin to, let's say, cash, the value of the dollar 20, 30 years from now may not be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another prime example. I believe it's pre-1920s silver dimes that had a high silver content. Right now, with the approximate price of gasoline being about $4, you could use 2 of those 10-cent pieces to buy a gallon of gasoline, effectively making the price of gas 20 cents a gallon.
I see what you're saying. Now, I know, too, you've been concerned about other civil matters, civil liberty issues, as well as preserving habeas corpus here in Rhode Island. Again, tell our viewers about what you've been working on.
This is an interesting bill. There was a piece of legislation that was signed by the President on New Year's Eve this past year that would authorize, within the National Defense Authorization Act, under 2 clauses, Section 1021 and 1022, that would allow the military to arrest United States citizens on U.S. soil without charge, merely being suspected of being suspicious, if you will, without right to habeas corpus, without right to legal counsel, or without right to trial, much like we see the folks in prison down at Camp Gitmo, if you will, at Guantanamo Bay. This is clearly unconstitutional. And as I'd said in one of my statements and given to the national media, that before I abscond my oath, they'll have to pry the documents, namely the Constitution of the United States and that of Rhode Island, from my cold, dead hands. It's purely unconstitutional. I think it's a state's issue that we should stand up. As a matter of fact, I was the first state legislator in the country to recognize this danger, and since then, 14 other states have followed suit.
Representative Gordon, thank you so much for taking time out of what is a busy session schedule. Thank you for talking to us, and my best to you and your colleagues in the Rhode Island House.
My pleasure, and thank you very much for having me.
And of course, thank you for tuning in from the third floor of the Rhode Island State House for Capital TV. I'm Dave Barber.